Hey sweet friends, welcome to my channel. I'm Nicole and this is Lazy Creek Homestead. On my channel I like to share things like shopping hauls and what's for dinner. I love to be in the kitchen. I sprinkle in a little bit of mom life and what's going on our homestead. I'm a mom of 4 boys, been homesteading our small property here in New Hampshire for 10 plus years. I do nothing perfect, but I do everything with love. I share real life around here. If any of that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and stick around for a while. Today I am sharing with you how I am starting back up with my sourdough starter. I received a sourdough starter from a friend and I'm kind of changing the gluten structure over a little bit, and I'll share with you my first recipe. So let's get in the kitchen. Hey friends, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I was gifted some sourdough starter. A friend of my sister's actually gifted this to her. It's a gluten-free, it was started with rice flour, but I don't have any gluten-free needs in my family, nor do I have any rice flour. So I'm going to actually transfer it out of this cup into this glass jar, and I'm going to feed it with some of my King Arthur's brown flour here. And I'm happy to have a sourdough starter. It's been almost a year since I've had my last one. I'm pretty lax when it comes to the measurements of my sourdough. I don't do on a scale or anything. I just try to do equal parts of flour and water. I'm going to start off with 2 tablespoons of our whole wheat flour, and I'm going to add in the water and we'll stir that up real well. Added the water, and now we're going to give this a really good stir to make sure we incorporate all of that flour throughout the starter. Alright, so I have this to the consistency that I usually have with my starters. Like I mentioned in the beginning, that this is a started off as a gluten-free sourdough starter with rice flour. I noticed it was a little bit grainier than my previous starters, but we're gonna set this on our warmish counter here in the sun, and we're gonna see how what happens and how well it feeds off of the whole wheat flour, and I'll keep you guys updated. Alright, let's see if this sourdough starter, it gets all happy and bubbly. So our starter is a little bubbly here. Went over the line a little. It's happy. It's starting to do what it's supposed to. So I'm going to feed it again. And I'm going to feed it just like I did last time. I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of my whole wheat flour and then 2 tablespoons of water and mix it very well in this jar. And we got it all mixed up. We'll let this sit on the counter and see how it does overnight. So we're back with our sourdough starter. It's got some liquid on top. It was kind of cold in the kitchen last night and I forgot to feed it, so we're getting close to like it having been fed in like almost 24 hours. So I'm going to stir this all together really well. I'm going to actually discard a little bit, and then I'm going to give it what I consider a double feeding. So I'm going to do 4 tablespoons of my unbleached organic whole wheat flour, and then I'm going to do 4 tablespoons of water and stir that all very well together. Alright, so we're just going to stir that all together really well, and then I'm going to discard probably a good 2
maybe 3 tablespoons of what's in the jar already. Alright, so the starter is all mixed together. I'm going to discard a little bit into my little purple glass cup here, and then we'll give this jar a feed. I am using bottled water, and I'm making sure I'm using an unbleached flour. But like I mentioned in the beginning, this was a gluten-free starter. I didn't have any rice flour to continue to feed it that, and we don't have any gluten-free needs in our family. So we're kind of switching the gluten structure over a little bit. Here's our discard. I'm going to feed this as well because I'm going to re-gift that to a friend if this all works out. And this is what I'm going to feed for my personal use. There's the flour. And now I've added in the water. I just eyeball it, kind of go by texture because I've done sourdough quite a bit throughout the years, but you could definitely measure this on a kitchen scale. I know it's really hard to see in my jar here, but when I stir it up, I really get into the corners. Alright friends, so I got these both fed and stirred very well, and I want to try to show you what I mean about the consistency. This is probably as thick as I would like it. We're gonna, if you can kind of see, that's pretty thick. And then this is kind of more loose as I would keep the consistency. You can see hopefully the difference a little bit more runny. So I'm going to see which one does a little bit better, the loose or the thicker one. I'm going to make sure I scrape the sides all down very, very well and then put the covers on. And I'm going to try to leave them on my stove instead of on the counter because it gets a little chilly in front of the window here. And see if that helps them just be a little bit happier. Alright friends, we are going to use up some of our sourdough starter. I'm going to try to find a different glass to transfer it into. Maybe not this time, but I'd like to put it in a wider mouth jar, so we'll work on that. But I'm going to make some discard sourdough chocolate chip cookies. This is actually the first time I'm using this recipe, and I am changing up the 1/2 cup of brown sugar to white granulated sugar just because I don't happen to have any brown sugar right now. Something I try to keep on the pantry shelves, but I need to restock, so we're still going to go with what we have. Alright, so to my mixer I have a 1/2 cup of butter, which is a stick of butter, and I'm adding my 1/2 cup of sugar, and we're going to cream that together. So now we're going to go in with our sourdough starter. We have a 1/2 cup of that. I'm treating mine still like a discard. It's doing well, changing over to a whole wheat starter. But it's not quite as bubbly and active as I'd like it to be for making like my sandwich bread. So we're going to make this, and then I'm going to feed what I have in my jar, and we're going to keep trying to make this healthy and happy. And we're going to try this delicious recipe. Next, we'll add in our egg. So we got our egg and our starter in our bowl, and I'm going to just mix this until it's all combined. So now we're going to gradually add in our dry ingredients. We got a 1/2 cup of flour here. Do half of that. I'm going to add our 1 teaspoon of baking soda to this remaining 1/4 cup of flour and mix that together. And we're going to add that in and slowly mix that. And then I will do that again with my whole cup flour here until everything is mixed together. Alright, so this is mostly all blended together there. There's a little bit of crumbs on the bottom. I'm going to add in my chocolate chips and give it one last stir. We like to measure chocolate chips with our heart, but I'll leave our recipe link down in the description box that I kind of drew my inspiration from. You know, I don't follow recipes exact, but we're going to mix that all together and we're going to get these scooped out onto our grease cookie dish. And it's all mixed together. I'm just going to let it sit, chill on the counter here for a few minutes while our oven preheats. Alright, so I am ready to scoop my cookies. I have my grease cookie sheet. I'm just going to take a spoonful and put it in my hand and roll it in a ball and plop it onto my cookie sheet. If you got one of those nifty cookie scoopers, that works just as well. And in the oven we go. These sourdough chocolate chip cookies are so good. They may be my new favorite. I might have a small obsession with making these chocolate chip sourdough cookies. This time we use chocolate chip and caramel chips. So good.